The cafeteria erupted into chaos as Connor Blake shoved Marilyn Hayes hard against the lunch line lockers. A Gucci wallet tumbled from her backpack, hitting the polished floor with a distinctive slap that silenced conversations across the room. Phones rose like a synchronized wave, their cameras capturing every second. At Westfield Academy, the son of construction mogul Richard Blake wrote the rules that everyone else followed. In 7 minutes, he would regret everything. The way Marilyn fell wasn't clumsy. It was a perfect breakfall technique, her body rolling with practiced precision to absorb the impact. Connor's laugh echoed through the suddenly quiet cafeteria, that confident sound of someone who'd never faced real consequences. The strange wear pattern on the edge of Marilyn's phone, visible as it slid across the floor, suggested modifications that no ordinary 17-year-old would make. She didn't scramble for it. Instead, she observed the room with tactical precision, her back finding the wall at exactly 30 degrees to maintain a clear sightline of every exit and camera position. "Look what we have here," Connor announced to his growing audience, scooping up the designer wallet with theatrical flair. "The new girl's a thief. I saw her take it right from Rachel's purse." His girlfriend, Rachel Summers, gasped on cue, her hand flying to her open handbag. The performance was almost convincing, except for the slight smirk Connor couldn't quite suppress. Security guard Thompson pushed through the crowd of students, his radio crackling. But Marilyn didn't panic. She regulated her breathing in a steady 4/4 rhythm, the kind of controlled response that came from intensive training. Her eyes swept across the cafeteria's surveillance setup, noting cameras 3 and 7's positions with unusual precision. "Blind spot at camera 5, she whispered to herself, knowledge that no transfer student should possess after only 3 days at Westfield. The crowd pressed closer, their phones documenting every second. Jessica Miller and Tony Rodriguez stood near enough to hear everything, their positions noted in Marilyn's mental catalog. Connor's voice boomed across the cafeteria, playing to his audience with the confidence of untouchable privilege. "Charity case from Nebraska," he sneered, stepping closer to where Marilyn stood against the wall. "Thought your scholarship made you smart enough to hang with us? Thought you could just take whatever you wanted from people who actually belong here?" Marilyn's hand moved to her backpack strap, an action that seemed unconscious but actually activated something with a soft click that only trained ears would notice. The tiny light that blinked once inside her bag went unnoticed by everyone except her. She mentally logged the time, 11:47 a.m., and the witnesses present, her mind working like a recording device programmed for legal proceedings. Rachel Summers stepped forward, her voice pitched perfectly for the cameras. "That's my Gucci wallet. My parents just bought it for me last week from the Denver boutique." She clutched Connor's arm dramatically. "I can't believe she'd steal from me." But something was off about the setup, visible only to someone who knew what to look for. The way Connor's friends, Jason and Brett, had positioned themselves before the confrontation. The angle that pushed Marilyn toward the specific section of lockers. The convenient placement directly under the cafeteria's one malfunctioning camera. The live stream started on Connor's Instagram story without fanfare, his voice narrating for his followers. "Catching a thief red-handed at Westfield. This is what happens when they let just anyone in." The view count jumped from 20 to 200 in 30 seconds, comments flooding in from students throughout the school. Marilyn watched Connor orchestrate the scene, hand signals to Jason to block the main exit, a nod to Brett to cover the side door. They moved with the coordination of a practiced routine. But Marilyn didn't attempt to leave. Instead, she shifted her backpack from her right hand to her left, freeing her dominant hand in a subtle motion that only someone with tactical training would recognize as preparation for potential conflict. The adjustment was smooth, natural, almost invisible to the crowd focused on Connor's performance. If you've ever wondered when justice comes for those who think they're untouchable, you're about to witness something extraordinary. Like and subscribe to follow this story, because what happens next will change Westfield Academy forever. Your support through the thanks button helps us continue exposing the truth behind privilege and power. Now, watch as Connor Blake digs his own grave, one entitled word at a time. Connor's voice rose above the cafeteria noise, his confidence absolute. "Check her bag, Thompson. The wallet's right there." Security guard Thompson hesitated, knowing exactly who Connor's father was, but also understanding the legal boundaries of his authority. "I need probable cause," Thompson said carefully, his hand hovering near his radio. Connor's laugh was sharp, dangerous. "My father donated the entire new security system to this school. Would you like me to call Principal Harrison? Or maybe I should call my dad directly. He's playing golf with the superintendent right now." Marilyn spoke for the first time, her voice calm and precisely modulated. Colorado state law requires reasonable suspicion for searches of student property, and recording someone without their consent in a two-party state could be problematic. Except Colorado is a one-party consent state, which makes my recording of this interaction completely legal. The legal knowledge was too specific, too accurate for a teenage transfer student. Thompson's eyes narrowed slightly, recognizing something in Marilyn's stance and terminology that didn't match her cover story. A text message buzzed on Marilyn's phone. "Package confirmed." She glanced at it briefly, her expression unchanging, but something shifted in her posture. A subtle straightening that suggested pieces falling into place. The lunch period warning bell rang. 3 minutes until classes resumed. Connor's agitation increased, his carefully orchestrated scene running against an unexpected countdown. Principal Harrison chose that moment to enter the cafeteria, his presence immediately commanding attention. "What's going on here?" Harrison's voice cut through the noise. Connor immediately shifted into victim mode, his voice taking on a wounded quality. "Sir, we caught her stealing. Rachel's wallet was in her bag. Everyone saw it fall out when she tripped." "I didn't trip," Marilyn corrected quietly. "I was pushed. The security footage from cameras 3 and 7 will show that clearly. Camera 5 won't show anything, of course. Someone moved it last week to create a blind spot. The old adhesive marks on the wall show its original position." Harrison's expression shifted from annoyance to concern. The specificity of her observations, the confidence in her delivery, something wasn't adding up. Marilyn pulled out her phone, but it wasn't a normal iPhone. The device had subtle modifications, reinforced corners, an unusual camera configuration, and encryption indicators that belonged on government hardware, not a teenager's phone. The specialized security device in her hand could capture and authenticate recordings with forensic-grade timestamps, utilizing military-level encryption that would take even advanced systems years to crack. She touched the screen, initiating some kind of protocol that began archiving everything. Every word, every live stream frame, every piece of digital evidence in the room. Connor didn't realize it yet, but his own live stream was being mirrored and archived with complete metadata, creating an evidence trail that would soon destroy everything his family had built. Harrison ushered everyone toward his office. "Connor, Marilyn, Rachel, with me, now." As they walked, Marilyn's eyes tracked details others missed. The fresh paint covering water damage that suggested construction shortcuts. The new cameras that didn't match the school's standard equipment. The subtle signs of a system designed more for intimidation than security. In Harrison's office, Marilyn placed a small device on the desk, a forensic-grade recorder with blockchain verification capabilities. This device creates legally admissible transcripts. Everything said from this point forward has evidentiary value in state and federal proceedings. Connor laughed dismissively. "What are you, FBI? This is ridiculous!" Marilyn didn't respond to the taunt. Instead, she methodically adjusted the device's settings while Harrison opened his laptop, his face paling as he read an urgent email from the district office. "I've just received a message from the superintendent," Harrison said slowly. "There are allegations of bid rigging in school construction contracts. Blake Construction is mentioned." He paused, scrolling, 17 times in the preliminary investigation. Connor's confident facade cracked slightly. "That's nonsense. My father's company wins contracts because they're the best. We've built half the schools in this district." "Exactly," Marilyn said quietly. "Half the schools, with no competitive bidding, using the same subcontractors who happen to be related to school board members, creating invoices for materials that cost 3 times market rate. It's an impressive operation. $23 million over 5 years. Brett suddenly pushed past other students who'd gathered outside Harrison's office, with Jason close behind. They moved to flank Marilyn, trying to look casual but positioning themselves strategically. Connor's hand signals were subtle but clear. He wanted them ready for whatever came next. But Marilyn had already cataloged their positions, their body language, their tells. When Brett reached for her arm, she redirected his momentum with a minimal motion that sent him stumbling backward. The move was so smooth, so professional, that it looked almost accidental. "Don't touch me," she said evenly. "Assault with witnesses present is a serious charge, especially when those witnesses include 3 teachers and a security guard." Connor's phone buzzed incessantly. His face went white as he read the messages flooding in. "The audit committee. They're meeting in emergency session. Right now. About our family's contracts." Marilyn allowed herself a small smile. She knew audit committees only convened for emergency sessions when financial irregularities were beyond serious, when they were criminal. The specialized device on Harrison's desk continued recording everything, its blockchain verification ensuring that no one could later claim the evidence had been tampered with. Every word spoken, every threat made, every admission of guilt was being preserved with forensic integrity that would stand up in federal court. Connor tried calling his father, the panic in his voice escalating. "Dad, something's happening at school. They're talking about audits. Dad?" The call went straight to voicemail. He tried again. Same result. His hands had begun to shake slightly, the first visible sign that his world was unraveling. "Your father is probably busy right now," Marilyn observed. "The FBI tends to confiscate phones during raids. Standard procedure for financial crimes investigations." "You're lying," Connor said, but his voice lacked conviction. The way she spoke, the specific terminology, the casual familiarity with federal procedure, none of it matched the profile of a 17-year-old transfer student from Nebraska. Rachel had gone silent, her face pale as she began to piece together implications. The Gucci wallet in her hand, the one Connor had found in Marilyn's bag, suddenly felt like evidence of her own complicity. She stepped away from Connor, creating physical distance from the collapsing conspiracy. Brett and Jason exchanged nervous glances. Whatever loyalty they had to Connor was evaporating as they realized the scale of what was happening. Brett's phone showed a text from his father. "Stay away from the Blake family, now." Jason was already backing toward the door. Marilyn stood calmly in the center of the chaos, her positioning deliberate. Back protected, exits accessible, threats catalogued. Every movement was economical, professional, trained. The scared transfer student persona had evaporated entirely, replaced by something far more dangerous to Connor's world. The silence in Principal Harrison's office was suffocating. Connor's breathing had become shallow, rapid. The sound of someone watching their carefully constructed world crumble. Marilyn reached into her jacket pocket and placed another device on the table. This one more sophisticated than the first. This is a forensic audio capture system with blockchain verification, she explained calmly. Unlike consumer recording devices, this creates transcripts that are immediately admissible in federal court. Every word spoken from this point forward, every admission, every threat, it all becomes part of the permanent legal record. Connor tried to laugh, but it came out strangled. You think you're what? Some kind of cop? FBI? Marilyn didn't answer directly. Instead, she stood slowly, her posture shifting completely. The scared teenage girl was gone. In her place stood someone with training, authority, and purpose. As she adjusted her collar, the edge of a tattoo became visible. 2 eagles facing opposite directions, wings spread in vigilant watch. Harrison's laptop pinged with another urgent message. His face went ashen as he read. The district just received a federal subpoena. They're demanding all records related to Blake construction contracts for the past 5 years. That's impossible, Connor stammered. My father has lawyers. Your father's lawyers are probably being raided right now too, Marilyn interrupted. When the FBI executes a financial crimes warrant, they hit everything simultaneously. Banks, offices, homes, even storage units. It prevents evidence destruction. She pulled out her modified phone and typed a brief message. Within seconds, Connor's phone exploded with notifications. His banking app showed alert after alert. Account frozen. Account frozen. Account frozen. No! Connor's hands shook as he scrolled through the notifications. This can't be happening. Have you ever wondered what happens when someone discovers their entire world was built on crime? When the protection they thought was absolute suddenly evaporates? Comment below with your state. Financial crime laws vary significantly across America, and what's happening to Connor could happen anywhere. Marilyn stood straighter, her voice taking on an official tone. Marilyn Hayes, Junior Specialist, Financial Crimes Division, Federal Asset Recovery Task Force. I was assigned to investigate Blake Construction's systematic bid rigging, money laundering, and racketeering operation that's stolen approximately $23 million from taxpayers through fraudulent school construction contracts. The revelation hit the room like a physical force. Rachel dropped the Gucci wallet, backing toward the door. Brett and Jason had already fled. Harrison sat frozen, processing the implications for his school, his career, his complicity in looking the other way. You're lying, Connor whispered, but his voice held no conviction. Marilyn pulled out her federal credentials, the gold badge catching the fluorescent lights. 3 months ago, a whistleblower in your father's company came forward. They provided evidence of systematic fraud, fake invoices, ghost employees, materials that were never delivered but still billed to the district. Every school your father built in the last 5 years is part of the investigation. Connor tried to dial his father again. This time, someone answered, but it wasn't Richard Blake. Mr. Blake's phone is in federal custody, an unfamiliar voice said. This is Special Agent David Chen. Who is this? Connor dropped the phone like it was burning. The name Chen. The irony wasn't lost on anyone who knew Connor's history of racist comments about Asian students. Every time you bullied a student, Marilyn continued, you created a witness. Every threatening text, every live-streamed humiliation, every abuse of power. It all established a pattern. 37 students have provided statements about your behavior. That pattern demonstrates racketeering under RICO statutes. Your personal actions aren't just school discipline issues anymore. They're federal crimes linked to your father's enterprise. Harrison's desk phone rang. He answered with a shaking hand, listened for 30 seconds, then hung up. That was the superintendent. FBI agents just arrived at the district office. They're seizing all records related to construction contracts. Connor's phone buzzed again. A text from his mother. "Don't come home. FBI here. Lawyers coming." 14 bank accounts, Marilyn said, checking her phone. $8.7 million in assets, now frozen pending investigation. Your family's cars, boats, even the vacation home in Aspen, all seized under asset forfeiture laws. Connor collapsed into a chair, repeating, "This can't be happening," over and over. His hands trembled uncontrollably, the same hands that had pushed Marilyn just an hour ago when he thought his power was absolute. "The irony," Marilyn observed, "is that you gave us the final piece. Your attempt to frame me created the probable cause we needed to execute the warrants today instead of next week. Your own crime accelerated your family's downfall." Through the office window, they could see 2 black SUVs pulling into the school parking lot. Federal agents, obvious in their tactical vests and professional bearing, stepped out and began walking toward the building. "The wallet plant was creative," Marilyn admitted, "but sloppy. Rachel's Instagram showed her with the wallet on Tuesday at the gym, after you claimed I stole it Monday. The metadata doesn't lie. Plus, the serial number she quoted, it doesn't match the actual wallet. She memorized the wrong numbers." Rachel was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. "Connor said it would be funny. He said you were nobody, that no one would believe you anyway." "That's the thing about evidence," Marilyn replied. "It doesn't care about social status or whose father owns what. Truth is truth, and numbers don't lie." The office door opened. 2 FBI agents entered, their presence immediately changing the room's dynamic. The lead agent, a tall woman with gray streaking her black hair, looked directly at Connor. "Connor Blake, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, racketeering, and intimidation of witnesses." She pulled out handcuffs with practiced efficiency. "You have the right to remain silent." As they read him his rights, Connor's world, built on his father's corruption and maintained through intimidation, finished its collapse. The golden boy of Westfield Academy was led out in handcuffs, past the cafeteria where dozens of students pressed against the windows, their phones capturing his downfall just as eagerly as they'd recorded his supposed triumph. Harrison stood to address the growing crowd of teachers and staff gathering outside his office. "Westfield Academy will cooperate fully with all investigations. Effective immediately, all construction contracts are suspended, pending review." Marilyn gathered her devices, each one containing evidence that would ensure convictions. As she packed them away, her phone buzzed with a new message. "Assignment complete. New target identified. Riverside Academy, Texas. Similar pattern detected." The next morning's assembly was unlike any Westfield had seen before. FBI agents stood at every exit as Richard Blake was led onto the stage in handcuffs, followed by his son. 3 school board members were also arrested, their involvement in the bid-rigging scheme finally exposed. The auditorium was silent except for the click of handcuffs and the whispered amazement of students who'd never imagined such a scene. Marilyn stood at the back of the auditorium, her federal badge now displayed openly on her belt. Several students approached her, wanting to thank her, to understand, to apologize for not helping when Connor targeted her. She accepted their words with professional grace, but maintained her distance. This was work, not personal. A new message arrived on her phone. Riverside situation escalating. Departure in 2 hours. Outside, a black SUV waited, engine running. The driver's face wasn't visible through the tinted windows, but a file folder was visible on the passenger seat. Her next assignment. Another school where privilege had become predation. One student, someone Marilyn had never spoken to before, approached hesitantly. "Agent Hayes, I have information about Riverside Academy. My cousin goes there, and what's happening? It's worse than here." Friend or foe? Marilyn couldn't be certain, but she listened carefully, taking notes that might prove valuable in Texas. The network of corruption in school systems was vast, interconnected, and deeply entrenched. Westfield was just one node in a much larger web. "Every empire built on fear has a 17-year-old weakness," Marilyn said quietly, more to herself than the student. The SUV door opened. It was time to go. As she climbed in, Marilyn took one last look at Westfield Academy. Connor Blake had thought himself untouchable, protected by wealth and connection. Now he faced decades in federal prison, his family's fortune seized, their reputation destroyed. The driver, still shadowed, spoke for the first time. "Riverside's expecting a transfer student next Monday. Nebraska story again?" "No," Marilyn replied, studying the file. "This time I'm from Michigan. Lost my parents in an accident. Vulnerable, quiet, perfect target for their gambling ring." As they drove away, Connor Blake was being processed at the Federal Detention Center. His designer clothes replaced with orange jumpsuit, his privileged life replaced with a cell. His father's empire, built on fraud, maintained through intimidation, and legitimized through corruption, had fallen in less than 24 hours. Principal Harrison stood before the remaining students and faculty, his voice carrying across the silent auditorium. "Westfield Academy is committed to absolute transparency moving forward. Every contract will be independently audited. Every decision will be scrutinized. We will rebuild our reputation through honesty, not connections." But Marilyn was already gone, heading toward her next assignment. The SUV merged onto the interstate, heading south toward Texas, where another bully with another powerful family was about to learn that federal justice doesn't recognize local privilege. Back at Westfield, the cafeteria camera 5 had been properly repositioned. The blind spot Connor had carefully created to hide his crimes was gone. In its place was a memorial plaque, small and tasteful, in honor of those who speak truth to power. Connor's Instagram account, once filled with displays of wealth and cruelty, showed only one final post, a screenshot of his arrest record, posted by federal authorities as a warning to others who thought their family money made them untouchable. The Blake construction signs were being removed from school buildings across the district. In their place, temporary banners read, "Under federal investigation, new management coming soon." Rachel Summers transferred schools the next week, her family quietly relocating to avoid the scandal. Brett and Jason faced their own legal troubles, accomplices in what prosecutors were calling the largest education fraud scheme in Colorado history. As the sun set on Westfield Academy, the students who'd once cowered before Connor Blake walked freely through hallways that no longer belonged to bullies. The empire of fear had fallen, brought down not by violence or revenge, but by evidence, law, and one federal agent who understood that the best way to catch a predator is to become the perfect prey. The message was clear. spreading through social media faster than Connor's live streams ever had. No one is untouchable. No amount of money can stop federal justice. And sometimes, the quiet new girl is exactly who she needs to be. Somewhere in Texas, another bully was about to learn the same lesson.
The story ends here, but there are many more videos waiting for you. So, if you enjoy, please take a moment to like, subscribe to the Wrong Target Story channel, and don't forget to turn on the bell. See you in the next story.